The sound of a deadbolt sliding into place is unique. It is a heavy metallic thud that resonates in your bones, especially when you are on the wrong side of the door. It was 7:00 p.m. on a Tuesday. The air in the basement was stale, smelling of damp earth, old cardboard, and the faint, sweet scent of rotting apples from the bin in the corner. "Travante!" I screamed, pounding my fists against the wood. "Open this door! Your father needs his medicine. He can have his medicine when you sign the deed." Travante's voice came from the other side, muffled but dripping with a cruel amusement. "Think about it, Mama. It gets cold down there at night." "You can't do this," I sobbed. "This is our home." "Not anymore," Kessia's voice chimed in. It was sharp, high-pitched, like breaking glass. "It's our time now, Adela. You two had your turn. Now be good parents and pass the torch." Then footsteps, heavy ones. Travante and clicking heels Kessia, moving away. Then silence, the heavy, suffocating silence of a tomb. I slid down the door until I hit the cold concrete floor. I buried my face in my hands. How did we get here? I am Idella Dubois. I am 70 years old. I was a school teacher for 30 years. I taught children to be kind, to be honest, to share, and I raised a monster. Idella. The voice was a whisper, rough, raspy. I looked up. Cornelius was sitting on an old crate of tools. My husband. The man who used to lift beams of steel with his bare hands when he built this foundation. Now he looked small. His stroke 3 years ago had taken his strength, his walk, and we thought his mind. He was staring at me. In the dim light filtering through the small, dirty window well high above his eyes were glittering. "Cornelius." I crawled over to him. "Are you okay? Are you cold?" I took off my cardigan and tried to wrap it around his thin shoulders. He stopped me. His hand grabbed my wrist. I froze. His grip wasn't weak. It wasn't the trembling grip of an invalid. It was iron. "Stop crying," he whispered. His voice. It wasn't the slur I had gotten used to. It was clear, sharp. "Cornelius." "Quiet," he hissed, looking up at the ceiling boards. "They might have listening devices, or they might be listening at the door." "Who?" "The enemy," he said. He looked at me. A slow, crooked smile spread across his face. "They made a mistake, Idella. A big mistake." "What mistake?" They locked us in the one place," he said, "where I buried the bodies." I stared at him. "Bodies?" "Metaphorically," he winked. "Help me up. We have work to do." To understand the secret, you have to understand the invasion. It started 3 years ago, the day of the stroke. Cornelius had collapsed in the garden. When he came home from the hospital, he was different, confused, weak. He needed a cane. He needed help cutting his meat. Travante and Kessia kindly offered to move in. "Just for a few weeks, Mama," Travante had said, looking around our 4-bedroom colonial house with hungry eyes, "until Dad gets back on his feet." They never left. The few weeks turned into months, then years. It was a slow takeover, like mold. First they took the guest room, then they complained the guest room was too small. They moved into the master suite. "Dad can't climb the stairs well," Kessia had argued. "It's safer for you two downstairs in the study. We'll take the upstairs. It's just logical." We moved. We slept on a pull-out couch in the study, surrounded by Cornelius's books. Then they took over the kitchen. My cast-iron skillets were replaced with non-stick copper pans I wasn't allowed to touch. My spices were thrown out for organic blends. "Your cooking is too greasy, Idella," Kessia would say, throwing my gumbo into the disposal. "We're eating clean now." But the worst part was the disrespect. Travante stopped calling me Mama. He called me Idella, or Hey. He stopped working. He said he was managing the family assets. What assets? Cornelius's pension. My savings. He drained them. He bought a new truck. Kessia bought designer bags. They threw parties in our garden while we sat in the study listening to the music forbidden to come out because we would embarrass them. "They're just waiting for us to die," I told Cornelius one night, crying. Cornelius just stared at the wall, drooling slightly. He didn't answer. I thought he was gone. I didn't know he was watching, recording, waiting. The final straw happened this morning. I was making soup, chicken and dumplings. It was Cornelius's favorite. The smell filled the kitchen, comfort, history, love. Kessia walked in. She was wearing a white silk robe. It was 11:00 a.m. She sniffed the air. She gagged. "Ugh," she said. "That smell, it's disgusting." "It's lunch," I said, stirring the pot. "It smells like poverty," she sneered. "We're having guests tonight, important people, investors for Travante's new venture. I can't have the house smelling like a nursing home." She walked over to the stove. She picked up the pot. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Fixing the atmosphere," she said. She walked to the sink. She poured the soup down the drain. The dumplings plopped wetly into the disposal. She turned on the water. My hard work, my husband's lunch, gone. I snapped. I grabbed her arm. "You spoil everything," I shouted. She spun around. She slapped me, hard, across the face. I stumbled back, shocked. "Don't you touch me, you old hag," she screamed. "This is my kitchen." Travante ran in. "What's happening?" "She attacked me." Kessia lied, clutching her cheek. "She clawed me." Travante looked at me. He didn't ask. He didn't care. "That's it," he said. "I'm done waiting." He went to the drawer. He pulled out a document. He had it ready. "Sign the deed," he said. "Transfer the title to me, now, or you go to a home." "No," I said, clutching my stinging cheek. "This is my house. It's my inheritance," he roared. "You're just wasting it. Sign it." Cornelius hobbled into the kitchen. He was leaning heavily on his cane. He looked at the empty pot. He looked at my red cheek. He looked at Travante. "Boy," Cornelius said. His voice was slurred. "Bad." "Shut up, old man," Travante shouted. He pushed his father. Cornelius fell. He hit the floor hard. "Cornelius!" I screamed. I knelt beside him. Travante loomed over us. He looked crazy, desperate. "You want to stay together?" he spat. "Fine. You can stay together where you belong." He grabbed me by the hair. He grabbed Cornelius by the collar. He dragged us to the basement door. He threw us down the stairs. We tumbled, bruised, broken. And then the door slammed. Back in the basement. Cornelius stood up. He didn't need my help. He brushed the dirt off his pants. He walked to the far wall behind the shelves. This part of the basement was old, the foundation from the 1920s. Red brick crumbling mortar. Cornelius counted the bricks. 3rd row up, 5th brick from the left. He pushed it. It didn't move. He pushed harder. "Damn arthritis," he muttered. "Idella, help me. Push here." I looked at him. The fog was gone from his eyes. The man I married, the structural engineer, the genius, was back. "Cornelius," I whispered. You're okay." "I've been okay for a year," he said. I was playing possum. If they knew I was lucid, they would have forced me to sign, or killed me. Being a vegetable was my shield. He looked at the brick. "Push." I pushed. The brick clicked. A spring mechanism. In a brick wall, Cornelius pulled the brick out. Behind it was a hollow space. A safe box. Not a modern safe. A metal box rusted shut. He pulled it out. He sat on the floor. He took a small key from inside his shoe. He had been walking on it for 3 years. He opened the box. Inside there was no money, no gold. There were papers, old papers, yellowed, fragile. And a photograph, a black and white photograph of a man. He was tall, handsome, wearing a military uniform from the 1940s. He looked exactly like Cornelius, but the name on the uniform wasn't Dubois. It was Rothschild. I gasped. "Rothschild, like the banking family," Cornelius said. "Yes." He handed me a birth certificate. Name, Cornelius Alexander Rothschild. Father Baron Victor Rothschild. Mother Sarah Johnson, domestic servant. "I am a bastard," Cornelius said. His voice was devoid of shame. "My father was the Baron. My mother was the maid. It was a scandal. They paid her off. They sent her to America with a new name and a promised silence." He picked up a document. A trust deed. But the Baron, he loved her, in his way. He couldn't give me his name publicly, but he gave me something else. He unfolded the document. The Kronos Trust, beneficiary, Cornelius Alexander Dubois. Activation clause. Upon the death of the primary beneficiary, or upon extreme duress threatening the lineage. Assets. I looked at the list. Land deeds. In Manhattan, in London, stocks, blue chip, bought in 1950. Value estimated in 1980, $50 million. Value today, billions. I dropped the paper. Billions, I choked. Cornelius, we clipped coupons. We ate Spam. We struggled to pay the electric bill. I couldn't touch it, he said. The trust is locked. It's a doomsday trust. It only unlocks if I am in mortal danger or if I declare war. He looked at the ceiling where Travante's footsteps were thumping. I lived a simple life, Idella. I wanted a simple life. I didn't want the Rothschild curse, the greed, the sharks. He looked at me. I wanted to see if Travante could be a good man without the money. I wanted to raise him right. He failed, I said. He failed spectacularly, Cornelius agreed. He is exactly like them, the worst of the Rothschilds, greedy, cruel, entitled. He picked up a small device from the box. It looked like a pager from the 90s. What is that? This, he said, is the panic button. It alerts the trustee, the firm in Zurich. What happens if you press it? A team comes, he said. Not the police, the firm's security. They are efficient. They extract the asset, me, and they neutralize the threat. Neutralize, legally, financially. They destroy the threat. He held his thumb over the button. Travante thinks he locked up a helpless old man, Cornelius said. He locked up a sleeping dragon. If you press that, I said, Travante will know. He'll know everything. Yes, Cornelius said. He will know he isn't just a failure. He will know he is the disinherited grandson of a dynasty. He'll be destroyed. He destroyed himself when he poured your soup down the drain, Cornelius said. He looked at me. Do I press it, Idella? It's your call. You're the mother. I thought about the slap. I thought about the cold basement. I thought about Kessia's laugh. I thought about the years of my husband pretending to be brain dead just to survive his own son. I looked at the button. Press it, I said. Cornelius pressed the button. It didn't make a sound. A tiny red light blinked once, then solid green. It's done, he said. They have the GPS. They are coming. How long? They have a team in Atlanta. An hour? Maybe less. Upstairs, the party was starting. We could hear the bass of the music thumping through the floorboards. We could hear laughter. Travante was celebrating. He was drinking my wine. He was sitting in my chair. He was telling his investors about the house he inherited. He didn't know that a satellite signal had just beamed from his basement to Switzerland, triggering a protocol that had been dormant for 70 years. He didn't know that the investors he was trying to impress were minnows compared to the whales that were swimming toward him right now. Cornelius stood up. He stretched his back. He threw his cane into the corner. I hate that thing, he said. He took off his dirty cardigan. Underneath, he was wearing an old but clean button-down shirt. He buttoned the top button. He smoothed his hair. He didn't look like a victim. He looked like a baron. Idella, he said, when they open that door, don't look down. Look at them. Let them see us. I will. We stood there, in the dark, waiting for the cavalry, and for the first time in 3 years, I wasn't afraid. I was hungry for the look on my son's face when the sky fell on him. Upstairs, the party was in full swing. Travante stood in the center of the living room, my living room. He held a crystal tumbler of scotch, Cornelius's scotch, aged 30 years, opened without permission. He was surrounded by investors, men in cheap suits with hungry eyes. They were developers' flippers, the kind of men who smell blood in the water and call it opportunity. The property spans 4 acres, Travante boasted, gesturing with his glass. Prime location. The house is a teardown, obviously. We're zoning for luxury condos. And the title? One of the men asked. A shark named Mr. Grantham. It's clear as crystal, Kessia chimed in. She was wearing my pearl necklace. It hung loosely on her neck, looking wrong like a collar on a thief. The old folks, they signed it over this morning. They're retiring. To a facility. A facility? Grantham laughed. You mean a pine box? Travante laughed too. Let's just say they won't be contesting anything. They're safely tucked away. He stomped his foot on the floor. Thud. Right above our heads. Down in the dark, dust fell from the ceiling beams onto my hair. I flinched. Cornelius reached out and brushed the dust from my shoulder. "Patience, Idella," he whispered. "The king is dancing on a trap door." Upstairs, the music grew louder. "To the future," Travante toasted. "To the Dubois estate." Kessia cheered. They clinked glasses. They didn't hear the low hum approaching from the distance. A hum that wasn't music. It was the sound of rotors. Outside, the Georgia night was torn apart. It wasn't the police. Police have sirens. They have lights. They announce themselves. This was different. 3 black helicopters running silent mode descended out of the clouds like birds of prey. They hovered over the lawn, their searchlights snapping on blindingly white, turning the night into noon. At the same time, the front gate exploded, not with fire, with force. A black armored SUV rammed through the wrought iron gates I had lovingly painted last summer. It didn't stop. It plowed through the rose bushes straight up the driveway, followed by 2 more. Inside the house, the music died. "What the hell is that?" Travante shouted, running to the window. He saw the lights. He saw the men rappelling from the helicopters. Men in full tactical gear, black uniforms, no badges, just a crest on their shoulders, a lion holding 5 arrows, the Rothschild crest. "Police!" Kessia screamed. "Travante, you said we were safe." "It's not the police," Travante whispered, backing away from the window. That looks like the military." The front door didn't open. It dissolved. A battering ram hit it with a force that shook the foundation. Crash! The door flew off its hinges, skidding across the foyer floor. Smoke grenades rolled in. The investors hit the deck. Mr. Grantham dove behind the sofa. Travante stood there frozen, holding his scotch. Through the smoke they came. 12 men. Precision movement. Laser sights sweeping the room. They didn't yell freeze. They didn't yell anything. They moved with the terrifying silence of professionals. They secured the room in 10 seconds. Every guest was zip-tied. Every investor was on their knees. Travante was slammed against the wall, his face pressed into the plaster. "Hey!" he screamed. "This is my house. I'll sue you. I know people." A man walked through the broken door. He wasn't wearing tactical gear. He was wearing a bespoke charcoal suit that cost more than Travante's car. He had silver hair and glasses. He walked calmly through the chaos, stepping over the broken door. He looked around the room with an expression of mild distaste. "Mr. Dubois?" the man asked. "I'm Travante Dubois." Travante yelled, spitting blood. "Who are you?" "My name is Arthur Sterling," the man said. "I am the executor of the Kronos Trust, Zurich office." "Trust." Travante blinked. "What trust?" "The trust you are currently trespassing on," Sterling said. He turned to the tactical team leader. "Where is the asset?" "Basement, sir. Thermal imaging confirms 2 heat signatures, 1 standing, 1 sitting." "Basement." Sterling's face went cold. "You put him in the basement." He looked at Travante. "You locked Cornelius Rothschild in a basement." Travante looked confused. "Who my dad is, Cornelius Dubois." Sterling didn't answer. He gestured to the team. "Get them out. Now." We heard the boots on the stairs, heavy, fast. I clutched Cornelius's arm. "They're here." "Stand up, Idella," Cornelius said. He straightened his shirt. He picked up his cane, then threw it away again. "No, I walk out of here on my own feet." The door to the basement, the door Travante had bolted, was blown off. Sparks flew. The lock melted. The door swung open. Light flooded in. A soldier stepped in. He raised his visor. He saw us. He lowered his weapon immediately. He tapped his comms. "Asset located. Secure." He walked down the stairs. He didn't grab us. He didn't shout. He stopped 3 steps from the bottom. He knelt. "My lord," the soldier said to Cornelius. "My apologies for the delay. The Atlantic crossing took 4 hours." "You made good time, Commander," Cornelius said calmly. "This is my wife, Lady Idella." "Ma'am." The soldier nodded to me. "Please, allow us." 2 more soldiers came down. They carried warm blankets. They wrapped us in them. "Is the perimeter secure?" Cornelius asked. "Yes, sir. The hostiles are detained." "Good. Let's go upstairs. I have a party to attend." We walked up the stairs. I leaned on Cornelius. He leaned on me. We were dirty, we smelled of the basement, but we walked tall. We entered the living room. It was a tableau of destruction. The investors were cowering in the corner. Kessia was crying on the floor, her makeup running. Travante was still pinned to the wall. When we walked in, the room went silent. Arthur Sterling bowed, a deep, formal bow. "Baron," he said. Cornelius nodded. "Arthur, it's been a long time." "Too long, sir. Zurich sends its regards." Travante twisted his head to look at us. His eyes were bulging. "Baron," he choked out. "Dad, what is going on? Who are these people?" Cornelius walked over to the wet bar. He poured himself a glass of water. His hand was steady. He turned to Travante. "These people," Cornelius said, his voice filling the room, "are my employees, and this house. This is not your inheritance, boy. This is my fortress." "But the deed!" Kessia shrieked from the floor. "We forced you to sign. It's ours." Sterling stepped forward. He held up a tablet. "The document you forced him to sign," Sterling said, "transfers the property of Cornelius Dubois. However, the title to this land is held by the Kronos Trust. Cornelius Dubois owns nothing. He is a legal fiction, a ghost." "I don't understand," Travante yelled. "Who are you?" "I told you," Cornelius said softly. He walked up to his son. "I am Cornelius Alexander Rothschild, the bastard son of the Baron. And you—" He looked Travante up and down with a look of pure disappointment. "You are just a thug who broke into the wrong house." Cornelius turned to the commander. "Commander, remove these guests." "The investors, sir." "Yes, throw them out the gate. If they return, arrest them for corporate espionage." "And the son and the woman." Cornelius looked at me. "Idella," he asked, "what do we do with them?" I looked at Kessia, the woman who poured my soup down the drain. I looked at Travante, the boy I nursed, the man who threw me down the stairs. I remembered the cold floor. I remembered the hunger. "They wanted the house," I said. "Yes," Cornelius said. "Let them stay," I said. Travante's eyes lit up. "Mama, you mean it. Let them stay." I pointed to the floor. "In the basement." The soldiers didn't hesitate. They grabbed Travante and Kessia. "No, no!" Kessia screamed. "You can't! My silk robe, it's dirty down there." "Mama!" Travante yelled. "I'm sorry, I was joking. It was a prank." "It wasn't a prank when you locked the bolt." "Travante," I said, "enjoy the peaches. They expire in 1995. They dragged them to the basement door. They threw them down the stairs. Not gently. They tumbled just like we had. Then the soldier slammed the door. He took a welding torch from his pack. He welded the bolt shut. "Secure," he said. We stood in the living room. The silence returned. Mr. Sterling cleared his throat. "Baron, the trust is active. Your assets are unlocked. The jet is waiting at Hartsfield-Jackson. We can be in Zurich by morning. The medical team is on board." Cornelius looked at me. "Zurich?" he asked. "I've never been to Europe," I said. "The chocolate is excellent," Sterling offered. "But my garden," I said, looking out the window at the ruined gate. "We will buy you a new garden, Idella," Cornelius said. "We will buy you a botanical garden." He took my hand. "But first," he said, "I want to make a phone call." "To who?" "To the district attorney," Cornelius said. "I want to report a kidnapping, and elder abuse, and attempted murder. You're going to press charges." "I am going to bury them," Cornelius said, "under the jail." The team moved fast. Within an hour, the broken gate was being repaired by a crew that appeared out of nowhere. The investors' cars were towed away. The house was swept for bugs. Cornelius and I sat on the sofa drinking tea brought by a soldier. "So," I said, "you're a billionaire." "On paper," he said. "And you lived in this house, fixing the roof yourself, driving a Ford, for 40 years. I wanted a life, Idella, not a portfolio. I wanted you to love me, not the money." "I loved you when you were broke," I said. "I love you now." "Good," he smiled, "because the money is going to be a headache." From the basement we could hear muffled screaming, pounding. "Let us out, please, it's dark." I sipped my tea. "Does the sound bother you?" Cornelius asked. "No," I said. "It sounds like justice." Sterling walked in. "Sir, the DA is on the line. He's very interested in the case, especially since your name, well, the Rothschild name opens doors." "Tell him I want them prosecuted to the fullest extent," Cornelius said. "And tell him to bring a crowbar. I'm not opening that door." The sun began to rise over Georgia. The nightmare was over. But the reckoning had just begun. I woke up in a room that smelled of lavender and ozone. The sheets were Egyptian cotton, cool and smooth against my skin that still remembered the grit of the basement floor. I walked to the window. Outside, the Swiss Alps rose like jagged teeth against a sky so blue it hurt to look at. Snow-capped peaks, green valleys, silence. We were at the Klinik Hirslanden in Zurich. The medical team had been waiting for us on the tarmac. "Lady Idella." A nurse entered. She didn't call me Mrs. Dubois. She used the title Arthur Sterling had insisted upon. "The Baron is awake. He wishes to see you." I walked down the pristine hallway. Cornelius was in a suite that looked more like a palace than a hospital room. He was sitting up in bed reading a newspaper in German. His color was back. The tremor in his hands, the one I thought was age, was gone. "Idella," he smiled. "Cornelius," I said, sitting beside him. "Or should I call you Baron now?" "Call me the man who loves you," he said, taking my hand. "The rest is just noise." "Where are we really?" I asked. "This isn't just a clinic." "This is a sanctuary," Cornelius said, "owned by the trust. We are safe here. The syndicate, the local thugs, they can't touch us here." "And Travante." Cornelius's face hardened. The warmth vanished from his eyes, replaced by the steel I had seen in the basement. "Arthur gave me the report this morning." "Tell me," I said. Cornelius picked up a file from the bedside table. "The police arrived 10 minutes after we left. They found Travante and Kessia in the basement. The door was welded shut, remember? They had to use the jaws of life to cut them out." I imagined it. My son trapped in the dark, screaming for help in the very prison he built for us. "They were arrested," Cornelius continued. "Kidnapping, false imprisonment, elder abuse, grand larceny. And the investors, corporate espionage. The FBI has been tracking Mr. Grantham for years. Our party gave them the evidence they needed to raid his operation." "So he's in jail." "He is in solitary confinement," Cornelius said, "for his own protection. Apparently he owes a lot of money to the people Grantham works for. Without the house, without the inheritance, Travante is a liability." I felt a pang in my chest, a phantom ache. "He's still our son," I whispered. "No," Cornelius said firmly. "He is the man who threw you down a flight of stairs. He is the man who erased us while we were still breathing. The son we raised. He died a long time ago, Idella, consumed by the shadow of a name he didn't understand." A week later, we went to the bank, Banque Privée Edmond de Rothschild. We didn't stand in line. We were ushered into a private elevator down to the vault levels. Arthur Sterling met us there. "The Kronos Trust," Sterling explained, as he unlocked a massive steel door, "was established by your father, Baron Victor, in 1948. He knew his legitimate heirs were problematic." "Problematic?" I asked. "Greedy," Cornelius corrected. "Vicious." We walked into the vault. It wasn't full of gold bars like in the movies. It was full of files, leather-bound ledgers, and art. Paintings leaning against the walls, a Monet, a small Picasso. "He hid them," Cornelius said, touching a canvas. "He knew my half-brothers would sell them for gambling debts. He hid the true wealth of the family here, for the spare, for the one who wasn't corrupted." "For you," I said. "Yes, but he put a condition on it." Cornelius opened a ledger. "The curse of Kronos. The wealth shall only pass to the heir who rejects it." "I rejected it," Cornelius said. "I ran away to America. I changed my name. I became a carpenter. I married a schoolteacher. I lived a life of calloused hands and small paychecks. And that," Sterling said, "is why the trust grew. It compounded, untouched, unplundered." "But Travante," I started. "Travante was the test," Cornelius said sadly. "I wanted to see if the curse was genetic or environmental. And I raised him with love. I raised him with enough, but not too much. And yet, Cornelius closed the ledger. He still turned out like them, like my half-brothers, hungry, cruel. It seems the poison is in the blood. I looked at the billions of dollars in assets around us. So what do we do with it? I asked. We can't spend this, not in 100 lifetimes. We don't spend it, Cornelius said. We use it to break the curse. We returned to the villa we had rented on Lake Como. It was time to close the chapter. Travante had been calling. Collect calls from the Fulton County Jail. We hadn't answered. He needs to know, I said. Know who he really is, what he really lost. I sat at an antique desk overlooking the lake. I wrote a letter. Cornelius sat beside me. He added his own note. We sealed it with the wax seal of the Rothschild crest, something Cornelius had found in the vault. We sent it via courier. Travante sits in the visitation room. He looks haggard. He has a black eye. His public defender slides an envelope across the table. It's from them, the lawyer says. From Switzerland. Travante tears it open. He expects a check. He expects a bail bond. He finds a photograph. The photo of Cornelius in the vault standing next to the Picasso, wearing a suit that whispers old money. And a letter. Travante. You wanted the house. You wanted the legacy. You wanted the Dubois name. But there is no Dubois legacy. Cornelius Dubois was a fiction. Your father is Cornelius Rothschild. You are the grandson of a baron, the heir to a fortune that makes your luxury condos look like dollhouses. You could have had it all. The world was waiting for you. All you had to do was be a good man. All you had to do was love your parents. But you chose the basement. You chose the dark. So we are leaving you there. The trust is sealed against you. You will never see a penny. You will never see us. You wanted to be the king of the house. Enjoy your cell. See, Baron and Lady Rothschild. Travante stares at the letter. He stares at the photo. The realization hits him like a physical blow, the magnitude of his loss. He didn't just lose a house in Georgia, he lost a kingdom. He starts to laugh, a broken manic laugh. He laughs until the guards drag him away, back in Como. We were having dinner on the terrace. It's done, Cornelius said. Is it? I asked. I looked at the shadows of the cypress trees. Travante is in jail, Kessia is in jail, but the investors, Mr. Grantham's bosses, the syndicate. Cornelius put down his fork. Sterling is handling them, he said. How? The Rothschilds have different kinds of influence, Cornelius said. Banks, leverage, debts. I don't want to be a mobster, Cornelius. We aren't, he said. We are just calling in favors. But that night I saw something. I was walking in the garden. I saw a boat on the lake, sitting still, engines off. A man was watching the villa through binoculars. I went inside and told Sterling. Sterling didn't look surprised. We expected this, he said. The syndicate lost millions when your son's project collapsed. They want compensation. From us. From the parents, Sterling said. They think you are soft targets. Cornelius walked in. He was holding the cane again. Not because he needed it, but because it had a sword inside. Another gift from the vault. Let them come, Cornelius said. I didn't run from my family for 40 years just to be scared of some loan sharks. No, Sterling said. We don't fight them with swords, Baron. We fight them with information. He pulled up a screen. I have found the accounts of the syndicate leaders in Panama, in the Caymans. And we can freeze them, Sterling said, just like you froze Travante, but on a global scale. Do it, Cornelius said. It will start a war, Sterling warned. Cornelius looked at me. He took my hand. They started it, he said, when they touched my wife. The war room wasn't a bunker. It was the library of our villa, smelling of old leather and espresso. Arthur Sterling sat at a large oak table covered in laptops. 3 younger men analysts from the trust worked silently beside him. There was no shouting, no gunfire, just the soft clicking of keyboards. Cornelius sat in his armchair by the window watching the lake. He looked calm, but his hand gripped the head of his cane so tight his knuckles were white. Status? Cornelius asked. We have mapped the network, Sterling said, not looking up from his screen. The Chicago syndicate is extensive, but sloppy. They use shell companies in Belize and Cyprus, but they all route through a single correspondent bank in Malta. And the trust owns a 12% stake in the parent company of that bank. Sterling smiled thinly. We have leverage. I watched them. It was terrifying. My husband, the man who used to fix our toaster with duct tape, was orchestrating the destruction of a mafia empire while drinking tea. What are you going to do? I asked. We are going to turn off their oxygen, Cornelius said. He nodded to Sterling. Execute protocol freeze. Sterling typed a command. He hit enter. The order has been sent to the compliance division in Malta, Sterling said, flagging all syndicate accounts for suspicious activity related to terrorist financing. Immediate freeze under EU regulations. How long will it take? I asked. Seconds, Sterling said. The scene was chaotic. Phones were ringing off the hook. A man in a suit, the boss, was screaming at his accountant. What do you mean declined? I mean the wire didn't go through, boss. The accounts are locked. All of them. The payroll account. The operational fund. Even your personal offshore. Call the bank. I did. They said it's a global freeze order. Interpol level. Interpol, we bribe Interpol. Not this level. This is higher. This is institutional. Suddenly the lights went out. What now? The power company. The bill was on autopay. The payment bounced. In the darkness, the boss's phone rang. He answered it. Who is this? A voice, synthetic, distorted, spoke. You threatened the wrong family, Mr. Rossini. The debt is canceled. The contract is void. If you ever look at the Dubois family again, we won't just freeze your money. We will release your ledger to the FBI. The line went dead. The boss stood in the dark warehouse. He had guns. He had soldiers. But he had no money to pay them. And in his world, a king without gold is just a target. Back in Como. It was dusk. Enzo the hitman was still watching the villa from his boat. He was waiting for the order to strike. His phone buzzed. He picked it up. It was a text from the boss. Abort. Return to base. Do not engage. Repeat. Do not engage. Enzo frowned. He looked at the villa. It was unguarded, or so it seemed. He typed back, Why I have a clear shot. The reply came instantly. They are protected. High level. If you touch them, we are all dead. Come home. No payment. No payment. Enzo swore. He started the boat's engine. But it didn't start. It sputtered and died. He tried again. Nothing. He looked at the fuel gauge. Empty. But he had filled it this morning. He looked at the water. A slick of oil surrounded the boat. Someone had sabotaged the line. A spotlight hid him from the shore. A police boat, the Guardia di Finanza Financial Police, cruised out of the shadows. Enzo Moretti, a voice boomed over a loudspeaker. You are under arrest for tax evasion and money laundering. Enzo threw his gun into the lake. He raised his hands. He realized then that he hadn't been hunting prey. He had been the bait. Travante was sitting in the cafeteria. He looked nervous. He had heard rumors. The syndicate was angry. The hit on his parents had failed. A large man sat down opposite him, a man with tattoos on his neck. Syndicate muscle. Travante trembled. I don't have the money yet, but my mom, she'll pay. I know she will. The man laughed. Your mom, the man said. Your mom just bankrupted the boss. She froze the whole operation. Travante stared. What? The word came down, the man whispered. Your parents are untouchable. Anyone who touches them gets erased. We don't mess with that kind of power. So, I'm safe, Travante asked, hopeful. Safe. The man stood up. You brought this heat on us, kid. You told us they were weak. You cost us millions. He signaled to two other inmates. They stood up. You're not safe, the man said. You're a liability. The beating wasn't lethal. The syndicate didn't want a murder investigation in the jail, but it was thorough. Travante curled into a ball on the floor, protecting his head. Why? He sobbed. Why? Because you lied, the man said, kicking him in the ribs. You said they were nobodies. They are the biggest sharks in the ocean. The next morning, Sterling came to the terrace. It is done, he said. The syndicate in Chicago has dissolved. The leadership is fleeing or being arrested. Enzo is in Italian custody. And Travante—" "What about him?" I asked. "He was hospitalized, broken ribs, a concussion. He is in the infirmary." I closed my eyes. My son. Beaten. Alone. "Did we do that?" I whispered. "No," Cornelius said. He reached out and took my hand. "His choices did that. We stopped the monster Idella. But Travante, he invited the monster into his bed. When you sleep with wolves, you get bitten." I looked at Cornelius. He looked tired. The energy of the financial war had drained him. The fire in his eyes was dimming. "Are you okay?" I asked. "I am tired of war," he admitted. "I spent 40 years hiding from this power, because I knew what it would turn me into." "What did it turn you into?" "A man who destroys," he said. "I destroyed my son's life." "You saved mine," I said fiercely. "And you saved your own." He looked at the lake. "We have to end it, Idella. The trust, the money. As long as it exists, it is a target, and it is a temptation." "What do you mean?" "I want to dissolve the Kronos Trust," he said. Sterling gasped. "Sir, that is billions. You can't just—" "I can," Cornelius said. "It is my money, my burden." He looked at me. "We are old, my love. We don't need billions. We need a garden. We need peace." "So what do we do with it?" I asked. Cornelius smiled. It was the smile of the man I married 40 years ago, the man with the sawdust in his hair. "We give it back," he said, "to the people who need it, to the people like us, before the money." I sat down to write one last letter to Travante. Vance told us he was awake in the prison hospital. This time I didn't use the Rothschild seal. I used plain paper. Travante, I heard what happened. I am sending a lawyer to ensure you are moved to protective custody, not because you deserve it, but because I cannot let you die. The debt you owed the syndicate is gone. We removed it. But the debt you owe your soul remains. We are closing the door, Travante. The money you craved, it is being given away, every cent. There is no inheritance. There is no empire. There is only you and the time you have left to decide who you are. Are you a Dubois? Or are you just a man who lost his way? We are leaving now. We are going somewhere where the name Rothschild means nothing. Do not look for us. Goodbye, my son. Mom. I sealed it. I handed it to Sterling. Send it, I said. And then, Sterling asked. And then, Cornelius said, standing up and taking his cane. Close the accounts. Sell the villa. We are going home. Home? I asked. To Georgia. No, Cornelius said. Georgia is gone. I was thinking, somewhere with pecans and quiet. I know a place, I said. Savannah, but the old part, where the ghosts are friendly. We packed our bags, not the Louis Vuitton trunks, the old suitcases we brought from America. We left the Baron and Lady titles at the gate of the villa. We walked out as Cornelius and Idella, just two old people holding hands walking into the sunset. But this time, we weren't walking away from something. We were walking toward something. Savannah has a way of holding on to time. The Spanish moss drapes over the oaks like memory itself. We returned quietly. No private jets, no fanfare. We flew commercial into Savannah Hilton Head International. We didn't go back to the house with the basement. That house was sold. The money from the sale was donated to a local shelter for the elderly. We wanted nothing from that place, not a brick, not a memory. Instead, we bought a townhouse on Jones Street. It was built in 1850. It had good bones, high ceilings, and a garden that needed love. This works, Cornelius said, standing in the empty foyer. It needs work. You're 80 years old, Cornelius, I reminded him. I'm a carpenter, he smiled, and I have the best assistant in the world. We settled in. The neighbors knew us as Mr. and Mrs. Rothschild. We kept the name but dropped the titles. They thought we were retired academics from Europe. They didn't know that the quiet old man tending his azaleas was worth more than the entire city block. They didn't know that the woman reading on the porch had taken down a crime syndicate. We liked it that way. We were invisible again. But this time, it was by choice. But we couldn't just sit. The money, the billions in the Kronos Trust, was still there waiting. "It's heavy," Cornelius said one night. "Ideally, money should be energy. This money, it feels like a dam holding back a river." "Let the river flow," I said. We called Arthur Sterling. He flew in from Zurich. We sat in our small kitchen drinking iced tea. "Arthur," Cornelius said, "I want to liquidate." "Liquidate?" Sterling choked on his tea. "Everything. Everything. The paintings, the land in Manhattan, the stocks, all of it. Sir, that will crash the market if we do it too fast. Do it slowly then. But do it, and put the proceeds into a new foundation. The Orion Thorn Foundation, named after the father he never knew, the traitor who was actually a hero." "What is the mission?" Sterling asked, pen poised. Cornelius looked at me. "Truth," he said. "Truth. We will fund archives," I said. "Libraries, investigative journalism, projects that uncover hidden histories, projects that clear the names of the wrongly accused." Cornelius nodded. "And victims of elder abuse, legal defense for parents whose children try to steal their lives." It was the greatest act of philanthropy the city had ever seen, but no one knew it was us. The foundation operated out of a nondescript office. Grants were given. Libraries were saved. A legal clinic was opened in the very courthouse where Travante had tried to destroy us. Every time we saw a news story about an elderly couple saving their home thanks to pro bono legal aid provided by the Orion Fund, Cornelius would squeeze my hand. "We are fixing the cracks," he would say. 5 years passed. Travante was still in ADX Florence. At first he wrote every week, angry, hateful letters, then begging letters, then nothing. The silence was heavy, but it was necessary. One day I received a call from the prison warden. "Mrs. Rothschild?" "Yes." "Inmate number 89402. Your son. He requested a visitation." "I told you." I said, "We do not visit." "He's dying, ma'am," the warden said. I froze. "What?" "Liver failure. Complications from lifestyle choices before incarceration. And a fight in the yard. He's in the hospice wing. He has days." I looked at Cornelius. He was in the garden pruning the hydrangeas. He moved slower now. "Cornelius," I called out. He came to the window. I told him. He was silent for a long time. "Do we go?" I asked. He looked at his hands, the hands that had built a life, the hands that had been betrayed. "No," he said. "No. If we go," Cornelius said softly, "we give him the satisfaction of thinking we still belong to him. We don't. We said goodbye in the basement, Idella. That was the end." "He's dying alone," I whispered. "He lived alone," Cornelius said. "Even when he was with us, he was alone in his greed. We can't save him from the end of his own story." We didn't go. Travante died 3 days later. We paid for the cremation. We had the ashes sent to Kessia's family. We didn't want them. It was cold. It was hard. But it was the peace we needed. The chapter was closed. The book was burned. Cornelius made it to 88. The last year he was frail. The cane wasn't a prop anymore. It was a necessity. But his mind was sharp as a diamond until the very end. He spent his days in the library we built in the townhouse. He wrote. "What are you writing?" I asked him one afternoon. "A letter." He smiled. "To Orion." "Your father?" "Yes. I'm telling him about you. I'm telling him I broke the curse." One evening we were sitting on the porch. The sun was setting, painting the sky in purple and gold colors of royalty. Cornelius reached for my hand. "Idella," he whispered. "Yes, my love. Do you remember the basement?" "I try not to." "I don't," he said. "I think about it every day." "Why?" "Because—" He turned to look at me, his eyes cloudy but full of light. "That was where I saw you, really saw you. You were in the dark. You were scared. But you didn't break. You pushed the brick." He squeezed my hand. "You were the secret Idella." "What?" I told you I had a secret behind the wall. I thought it was the box, but it wasn't. The secret was that I had a wife who was stronger than the Rothschild empire, stronger than the syndicate, stronger than blood. He closed his eyes. You were the treasure. I just had to lose everything to find you. He took a breath, a rattle. Quiet. He whispered, a faint smile on his lips. Quiet. I have a secret. And then he was gone. He died as he lived, quietly, with a secret smile. The funeral was small. Just me, Arthur Sterling, and the staff of the foundation. I buried him in the old Bonaventure Cemetery under a massive oak tree. The headstone didn't say Baron. It didn't say billionaire. It read, Cornelius A. Rothschild, 1945, 2033. Carpenter, husband, free man. I am 90 years old now. I live in the house on Jones Street. I am alone, but the house is full. It is full of letters. Letters from students who got scholarships. Letters from widows who kept their homes. Letters from people who found the truth in the archives we built. Every morning I go to the basement of this house. I didn't wall it up. I turned it into a study. I sit at Cornelius's desk. I open the tin box, the same one from the brick wall. It's empty now. The birth certificate is in a museum. The trust deed is shredded. But I keep it. I put my own things in it now. A recipe for chicken and dumplings. A photo of Cornelius in his garden. And the key to the front door. Sometimes when the wind blows through the pecan trees, I hear a whisper. Quiet. I have a secret. I smile. The secret wasn't money. It wasn't power. The secret was that you can be locked in the deepest, darkest basement, and you can still find a way to the sky. You just have to be willing to push the brick. My name is Idella Dubois Rothschild. I was a teacher. I was a prisoner. I was a baroness. But mostly, I was the woman who walked out of the dark. If you are reading this and you feel trapped, if you feel like the walls are closing in, remember me. Remember the loose brick. There is always a way out. You just have to be quiet enough to hear it.